I don't know how many mornings I have left. That's not me being dramatic. That's just where I am now. 92 years old, sitting in the same chair I've sat in for 30 years. And something keeps pulling at me. Something I haven't said out loud. Not to my children. Not to anyone, really. So I'm saying it here. My name is Walter Emery Briggs. I was born in a farmhouse outside of Decatur, Illinois, in the winter of 1933. I've outlived two of my closest friends, one of my brothers and my wife of 51 years. I'm not telling you that so you'll feel sorry for me. I'm telling you so you understand that what I'm about to say, I didn't learn it from a book. I didn't hear it in a sermon. I lived it, every single word of it, slowly, the way most things worth knowing come to you, too slowly, and usually too late. There's a particular kind of quiet that comes at this age. It's not peaceful exactly. It's more like the noise finally stops. The noise you didn't even know was noise. The rushing around, the planning, the worrying about what people think, the measuring yourself against things that don't matter. All of it just fades. And what's left is very simple, almost embarrassingly simple. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about a Tuesday in 1987. I was 54 years old. I was running a hardware supply business out of Springfield, and I was doing well. Not rich, but comfortable. I had a good name in town, a solid reputation. My wife, Helen, had been asking me for months, maybe longer, I'm not sure I was really listening, if we could take a trip. Not anything fancy. She wanted to go back to the small town in Tennessee where her grandmother had lived. She wanted to see the house, or what was left of it. She'd talked about that place since the first year we were married. I kept saying yes. Of course, we'll go. Let me just get through this quarter. Let me just close this contract. Let me just... That Tuesday, she brought it up again at dinner, and I remember I was tired. I remember I was going through some papers at the table, which I shouldn't have been doing, and I said something like, "Helen, we'll figure it out, I promise, just not right now." She didn't argue. She just nodded and started clearing the plates. I didn't look up. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because I have. For 35 years, I have sat with that moment. The sound of the plates, the fact that I didn't look up. We never took that trip. Not because anything terrible happened right away. Life just kept moving the way it does, and that trip became one of those things you keep meaning to do. And then Helen got sick in '94, and after that she wasn't really up for traveling. And then she was gone. I went to that town in Tennessee by myself in 2003, stood outside what used to be the house. It was a different building by then, some kind of storage facility. I stood there on the sidewalk for a long time. I don't know what I was looking for. I think I was looking for her. I'm not telling you this because I want you to feel the weight of it. I'm telling you because that moment, that Tuesday, those plates, that not looking up, it keeps coming back to me now. At 92, it comes back more than almost anything else. Not the big mistakes, not the business decisions I got wrong or the arguments I regret. It's the small surrenders, the quiet moments where I chose whatever was in front of me over whoever was beside me. That's the thing I didn't understand for most of my life. I thought time was something you spent, like money. You budget it, you allocate it, you make it stretch. I thought I was being responsible, practical. I thought Helen understood that what I was building for us.
Maybe she did understand. I hope she did. But understanding something and feeling it are two very different things. And I spent a lot of years making sure she understood without ever making sure she felt it. My oldest daughter, Carolyn, came to visit last month. She's 63 now. Can you imagine? 63? I still see her as 7 years old, standing at the edge of the pool, too scared to jump. We had a good visit. We talked about her kids, her garden, some program she's been watching on television. And when she got up to leave, she hugged me, a real hug, not a quick one. And she said, "I love you, Dad." And I said it back. Of course I did. But as I watched her walk to her car, I thought about how many times I didn't say it first. How many times she said it and I sort of received it like mail and moved on. How many times the words were there and I just held on to them for no reason. You'd think that would get easier with age, saying the things you feel. I'm not sure it does. I think you just run out of reasons not to. I want to tell you about my father. He was not a warm man. That's not a criticism. That's just the truth of him. He'd grown up in the Depression, worked fields from the time he was 8 years old, and by the time I came along, he'd already decided, somewhere deep inside, that sentimentality was a luxury he couldn't afford, so he didn't offer much of it. But there was this one thing he did. Every Sunday morning, without fail, he would make pancakes. Not for any particular reason. He never said anything about it, never made a production of it. He'd just be up before everyone else, standing at the stove in his undershirt, and by the time we came downstairs, they'd be there, stacked and warm. That was it. That was his whole vocabulary for love, I think. Pancakes on Sunday. I didn't understand that until I was in my 60s, and when I finally understood it, he'd been gone for 20 years. I sat at my own kitchen table one Sunday, and I thought he was trying the whole time, in the only language he had, and I had spent most of my childhood wishing he'd just say something, just once, just tell me. He was telling me every single Sunday. I just didn't know how to hear it. I've been thinking a lot about the word enough, how often I used it wrong. When I was in my 30s, I used to lie awake at night thinking about whether I was doing enough, working enough, providing enough, whether the business was growing fast enough, whether we had saved enough, whether I was being a good enough man, a good enough husband, a good enough man. That word, enough, it was like a door I could never quite reach. And somewhere in the middle of all that striving, and it was genuine striving, I wasn't chasing anything foolish. I believed in what I was doing. I missed things. Not dramatically, not in ways anyone would write a story about. I just missed the ordinary texture of my own life. Helen used to sit on the back porch in the evening, just sit, with a glass of iced tea and whatever book she was reading. I'd walk past the screen door sometimes on my way to the study, and I'd see her there on the porch, and I'd think, not in words exactly, more like a feeling, I'll do that someday. I'll sit like that someday. Someday. I sat on that porch alone for years after she was gone. It's a nice porch. The light comes through the oak tree a certain way in late afternoon that's really something. She knew that. She'd known it all along. My son Robert, we call him Bobby, always have, even though he's 60 now and the name doesn't quite fit anymore. Bobby and I were never as close as I wanted us to be. That's hard to say. He was a quiet child, thoughtful, not like me. I was always moving, always solving, and Bobby would just watch things. He'd spend an hour looking at a beetle on a leaf. He'd disappear into his room and draw for entire afternoons. I didn't know what to do with that. I admired it in an abstract way, but I didn't know how to meet him there. I coached his Little League team when he was 9. I thought that was what fathers did. I wasn't bad at it, but Bobby was never going to be an athlete. And I think part of me, and I'm ashamed of this now, part of me kept trying to make him into something that would be easier for me to understand. He draws still, Bobby does. He became an architect. His buildings are beautiful. I've seen pictures, and once I flew out to see one in person, this community library he designed in Oregon. I stood in the main reading room, and I thought, this is what he was doing in his bedroom all those years. This is what he was seeing when he watched that beetle. I called him that night from my hotel room. I said, "Bobby, that building is extraordinary." And there was a pause on the phone. Not a bad pause,